like I said, by choice to Portsmouth because I knew it was a place of my birth and a lot of family were from here, many, many generations. But I just like you, I've become very concerned exactly of how this city has been controlled by a very powerful force that has not done it, served it well. We've lost legacy jobs in this city and legacy jobs in this entire region, quite frankly. And when I always talk about legacy jobs, it's places like the Woolley meatpacking plant over on Airline Boulevard, 400 jobs gone.
That's right.
Nobody decided to keep it in place. The Norfolk Ford plant gone in no time at all over in South Norfolk in the Norfolk area. All of these facilities that were creating good jobs for generations and generations, but more importantly, they were good paying jobs. They were paying living wages back then. And they moved them out of this area just to simply put them somewhere else because we didn't have people actually who were gonna fight for those jobs. But we're all sitting here talking about, well, where are the jobs now? Well, nobody's fighting to bring in the new business. Do you know that the Go Virginia, which is an initiative started by the state, it's not necessarily adopted by all of our state leaders, by the way, but they're trying to figure out why is Hampton Roads so far behind all of our national similar regions throughout the country. We fall at the bottom of the list for recovering from the 2008 mess. And mainly we have all these universities and we're teaching all these kids all this technology and all this new stuff, and they're moving out of the area because they don't have jobs here. And that's a big concern. The kids are not learning what they need to be learning in the schools. Thankfully, a lot of that is lost because of the lack of the parents that are able to keep them engaged and keep them in play. And what scares me the most is what's recently just started really hitting home is these kids are killing kids in the streets. And it's really heartbreaking to know that parents are actually not there, not in place, and that the city leaders are basically just kind of, you know, we almost took out a mayor because he wasn't doing enough for taking care of the crime. And the crime is twice as bad now, and we're not even talking about it anymore.
Right.
So what is really happening here is basically a degradation and a complete breakdown of leadership at the top in the city as well as at the state, because they're more concerned about basically controlling the puppets and how they're going to basically control the few. And that's got to stop. That's got to stop because it's coming from the state down and it's impacting us on a negative level. And on top of that, now that the redistricting for District 18 is more or less concentrated on both Portsmouth, 90% of Portsmouth, and the northern sections of Chesapeake, it is the heart of this region. And we've got to turn the tide because we've got a lot of work to do to start capturing these kids coming out of college that are getting to college, but more so we need to start capturing these kids earlier than that and getting them into technical schools, which we don't have. I've been preaching to the choir about that for a number of years. I went through all that stuff when I was at Western Branch, and they just don't have those resources for them today. So I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to do for our community, as I always have been. I'm a commercial real estate by heart. It's in the family. It's been in the family since basically I was born. I think there's a picture out there where I was holding a paintbrush on my mom and dad's first house that they bought out in Virginia Beach. But I'm in the commercial real estate business. That's what I do. Single-handedly, I've probably done close to about $20 million worth of deals in less than 12 years by myself. If it wasn't for the city getting in the way, I could have probably done 3 times that. But a lot of times what's happening is you've got a Democratic-run city that's really taking and strangling down by regulation, and stopping progress because it's not fitting their narrative of what they want to see. And so every 2 years, and you probably saw it on the campaign trail, they talked about, you know, hey, he's got some bad looking buildings. That's his dad's buildings, by the way, not mine. But on the other hand, you got to look at what they've been doing for every 2 years. And an election comes around, stick it to Tony, trying to get him out of there, convince him not. So it's been going on for a while, and we paid a serious price. And I think somebody else is being grilled a lot lately to not be able to run again or to tarnish his image. And that's at the national level too. So this has got to stop. This has really got to stop. So I'm looking forward to being your representation in Richmond, changing this whole dynamic to something that's going to be beneficial to all. Because I know for a fact, together, we can really fix this. But thank you very much for the time. I'm open for questions if you want to do that now or you want to do it later.
No, let's go ahead and, anyone has questions? We have
I have a question.
Sure.
Hey, George, thank you for coming out. My name is Angela. My concern, with the whole situation is, we understand that there are programs and projects and resource development for children, coming out of high school, headed to high school. But the main issue that I'm seeing with all this gun violence is mental illness. How will you address mental illness? How will you approach us with that? What would you do that's not being done right now?
Well, mental illness is obviously creating a lot of the issues that they don't have resources that they really can get in touch with, get into the kids. And also the parents. See, that's where it basically has been generational. You know, we took out, we kind of ignored the mental issue problems probably back in the 70s, and now you've got them people are actually parents or grandparents of the kids that are, it's just perpetuating right through the system.
But something has to be done.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Programs need to be set up, so what I'm asking you, will you be able to attack or address that issue once you become Senate?
Yes, yes, I do. Because I can tell you the family nucleus is lost. And it's just a stray. That's the core thing that we've got to do, is get the family nucleus back together and structure back. You know, we're a village, and it takes a village to take care of the village, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's when they'll stop killing each other in the street too. Yes.
One of the things that I have been noticing, like, as far as the structure of the community and mental illness, the charities that we have in our communities, some people have their hands in the pocket and are easier to get the monies, the grant monies. Then, the state comes in and the federal government comes in and says, you know, we're gonna make it a little bit harder for you to get that money to help the people. I have seen this time and time again. We had this charity that I've worked for, I've been working for free for a year and a half, trying to help them, talk to you.
Yes.
And, we're working on a grant right now, and, the loopholes. I mean, we need, and this is just a suggestion, but we need a little bit more cooperation from the state to run these charities for the people, because this stuff is helping the people right before the election is just.
And I agree with you, because I speak a lot at the city council up in, right here in Portsmouth, and, my thing has been gun violence. The bad thing about it, just like you said, this is the part that upsets me the most, is they getting funds for gun violence, victims and families, but there's no program that has been integrated to reach out to those families who are suffering. It looks like another day has gone by, and nobody is saying anything. Just like you said, it's a day in and a day out, but something needs to be done.
Well, I can say to her question first about the gaining access to the funds necessary for these operations to work, because quite frankly, that's where it's gonna get down to you can get down to the level that you need to be able to operate in these communities. Portsmouth Area Resource Coalition, I believe, is, or PHAC was, I'm trying to connect to. Annie was Park, and then of course PHAC was set up as a conglomerate to bring all the nonprofits into, so they wouldn't go in there and start repeating services and going for the same dollars and doing the same thing each one. But when I was a part of that as a business association president, I championed to basically come in there and say, okay, if you're gonna get funds from state or national, you know, it's a requirement that they have to be a member of PHAC to get it. That's how it was originally set up. I think it's kind of gone off the rails a little bit, and it should come back. But that's where everyone's helping everyone else and not repeating or duplicating services to where then you start to throw things away literally because you can't, you know, one group has done this and one group has done that, and they can't get everything on the same page.
They're developing a reputation now, Portsmouth, the charity I work for, we were the only charity out of look at all the charities, we were the only
Well,
one.
the big, Portsmouth is the biggest giving city in the whole
But
Hampton Roads.
we were the only one
That's just the way it is.
invited to Norfolk State University, with a Christian coalition, to work together against violence. Here it is.
I firmly believe there has to be an easier way for the communities to help themselves. Again, it takes a village.
Yeah.
And this is the way it's gotta work. And it should be a clearinghouse that's set up in a way that works for the groups. that
But
are
they
involved.
tell me that it's on the state level, as Susan said, but this is a local problem. So they have local funds,
Yes.
that they can do something, they don't even wanna talk about it when I come up there to speak to them. You know, they refer me here, refer me there, they don't have no conversation
Yeah.
for you. So this is a local problem, we talk about, when you talk about the state, we understand that laws and lobbies and.
But some of the grants are coming from the state and the federal.
But
And when
they're not addressing it, they're not getting no funds for this
Sure,
situation.
sure.
And-
Well, like I said, on the local level, PHAC was designed to do just what she's talking about, being the clearinghouse to work together. So there would not be duplication, but at the same time, it's changed obviously since since 6 years ago that I was probably involved.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a real concern for the homeless in Portsmouth. There is no place for them to go now that summer is here. It's just disgraceful to me, and then we wonder why some of them turn to crime. There's no place for them. I really think we need to think about raising up some type of a home or some type of facility where the homeless can live. They're on the streets now, because winter is past.
Okay. Well-
It's very sad to me. And
Yeah.
I know people that are trying to help them and take them to try to get driver's license and all, and they don't get the help even there. They're told they're smelly, they need to take a bath, and then somebody puts them in a hotel, and then they go back and then they give them paperwork to do. They need help. They need people to come alongside them, because a lot of them just don't even know how to fill out these forms and do these things that are gonna help them get jobs and get work.
Yeah,
It's a very sad situation.
Well, one of the first boards I sat on was Oasis, while they were still on High Street, and
Me too, I've been
I
very
was
involved.
brought in, and to talk with my Dick Powell, Dick Powell? Dick Powell.
Yeah.
He really brought me in because of the real estate piece, because that's where they were trying to get the Oasis Opportunity Center up and running. And originally, the Oasis Opportunity Center was supposed to go behind where social services is now, ironically, where Oasis finally landed. But it was a little too early at the time. But what I can tell you as far as, when you see people out on the street, especially in downtown, it's more so now because you've got a lot of people standing in medians and collecting money and all this stuff. The population of homeless, true homelessness in Portsmouth is not as high as you think, because a lot of those people are actually there and they have homes, they just come down there to hang out. And sadly, they perpetuate the whole idea of the people that are actually taking full advantage of them and soliciting them with drugs and everything else and booze and they're passing it around, really creating this bigger, it's mushrooming into something bigger than just the homelessness piece. But the persons that are destitute that are truly on homeless get caught up in that fray. We were sitting down there, right there in the new Pelican Snowballs downtown on Chestnut Street. I built that last year. And to try to change the image of what's gonna happen west of Effingham. And there's a guy out there just, he's a zombie. He's homeless, but he's a zombie because he's on some sort of medication, he's coming off of it, and it's just falling down in the street. And it makes me feel like, what can we do? But a lot of times we're fighting multiple fronts, more so than just homelessness, but the drugs and the access to and the people that are taking full advantage of these people that are destitute. And that's what's the scary part. We gotta break that up too, big time. And it's gonna take the police, but of course we have to work on our police. Because our police is hunting down 128 people and we've got to stabilize their police force, knowing, and they need to know that we've got their backs. Roger.
Portsmouth has a heroin problem.
Absolutely.
That's the problem with your homeless people. You know, you go, I got a call from Indiana, company in Indiana, and they O'Reilly's over there in Craddock area over there. They've torn everything up. They sleep in there. And you can't help those people. You can tell, I mean, you know, there's places they can stay. Church I went to, Calvary, they had open, they come and sleep in sleeping bags. But you can't force them. They don't want help. They're addicts. And they'll destroy you if you try to help them if you're not qualified.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's not true of all of that.
Well,
That's not true of all. So many do want help. They want
Exactly.
help.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot do want help. Yes, I have a question. It's me, right?
yes, sir.
Okay. I got a question. I wanted to know, have you actually had the time yet to actually walk through the neighborhoods of the underprivileged and the need to help and the projects like London Oaks, Dale's Home, the new ones they have built out, to see the concerns and the issues that's going on with the people and see what you can do to help them as one? Or have you just met them in, places like, meetings and coffee houses and stuff like that? Have you actually walked the path?
I've been walking these streets of Portsmouth for 25 years.
Me too. I'm raised
25
here.
years. And I've taken every effort to lift these neighborhoods up. I remember when Ida Barber was still standing as Ida Barber, and now it's replaced with Westbury.
Yep.
One of the best opportunities, actually, it was ranked, the Hope 6 grant was ranked as one of the best Hope 6 grants in the nation. Sadly, other communities were taking full advantage of it and wore out the program to the point where they didn't have anything to work with anymore.
See, my thing is, that was of times, I was asking, like, as of now, like, the crisis going on now since the pandemic, like the inflation and the tolls and, different things and issues that they have.
One of the 160 that actually were part of the lawsuit against the state, that actually won, and then was reversed by a crooked politician at the state, at the Supreme Court. And I've got the entire document, just as for my FOIA request, that shows how that contract was not only was collusion involved, but also just simply conflict of interest and the number of people that got paid off to get the job done.
Yes, because people are right now losing their houses, their apartments, and they need someone to help represent the people, because there's a lot going on in this day and time with all this the new pandemics are coming out, and they talking about there's another one coming in 2025 and all this. But the whole thing is, right now, people need security. They need help. They need strength. They need someone to help them to carry on, to help them make it to a better tomorrow. Are you able to help them do that? That's the question.
That's how I started the conversation about the legacy jobs in the first place. We've lost them over more than 30 some odd years, and we need to get them back. And we've got plans to get them back because we've got kids that are in junior high and high school right now that are getting ready to go out, and we need to capture them before they leave to go somewhere else. Charlotte, Atlanta, ate Hampton Roads for lunch.
Yeah.
Lunch and dinner. Now Raleigh, Durham's getting ready to eat our desserts. Because North Carolina's figured something out. There's an interstate coming up, our back doors go right into our ports.
Yep.
We've been sitting here touting the fact that our ports are supposed to be the biggest thing we've ever had, and it's a great thing for our community, and it's paying into the state a whole lot of money. We are the best port on the eastern seaboard, probably the world at this point, because of the fact that the gateway has now developed into one of the most.
That's where we got our name from, Portsmouth.
Powerful ports.
Not for the ports.
On the East Coast, and we're talking still about Crane Island. It's still in the process, but we're still talking about it. But Portsmouth serves that. Here's one thing that I can tell you, that I would say, the ports don't give back to this host city way enough, not nowhere near enough is what they should. We're making so much money for the state, it's just, it's a shame that they pay us as little as they do. My focus would be pay every citizen taxpayer through their income tax a rebate for being the host to that port. Because we're the ones riding the roads after an 80,000-pound truck rides over and tears it up.
And what is your
We're the
plan?
ones
Oh,
having to
okay.
come along and pay the taxes to come along and fix the roads where the state's not picking up the tax, picking up the bill. We're the ones that's having to pay for those tolls that those trucks are having to work with. That contract was halted in the first place. It's been knocked down a couple of different times by us, by citizens, but more importantly, it has an Achilles heel. It's a 4,800 page contract. It's got more exhibits than the Alpha. And it's got an Achilles heel in it that I personally know where it is and confirmed it, and said continually confirmed it over and over again, that there's a fix to it. And we can get the federal government to take care of it. So.
All right.
But thank you very much for